Yeah, we're back with South African show today, and with me to discuss some issues concerning statistics of missing people by the police is Mustafa Jinodu and Alex Voss. You guys are welcome to another show.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, so
Thank you.
the KZN police are downplaying the statistics surrounding how many missing, specifically how many missing females are popping up all over the country. The last statistics I looked at, which were 2024, shows that over 8,000 missing individuals. I don't know how many are women, but through just I follow what's going on in South Africa on social media and in the news, but we know that regardless of what the numbers are, there are a lot of females who are missing who never are found. Whether or not the stats are accurate or not, there's definitely, on face of it, a problem. I wonder what the police's motivation to go out of their way to say that a lot of these cases, the women return home, but they don't report it to the police, or a lot of them are is just not reported back to the police. I'm wondering what their motive is. Is it that they're feeling the pressure? Because obviously the police should feel pressure because there's a problem with females going missing. Not only that, females who don't go missing, who get gender-based violence, who get beaten up and things, and I've seen it time and time again. Nothing is done about it. I'm not going to talk about the racial, but just try going up and beating a white girl in South Africa. You'll find out what happens. What are your thoughts, Falabi? We'll get back to more deeper talk about what's going on, but let's start with that right now. What are your thoughts, Falabi?
Yeah, basically, official police statistics conflict with independent reports. And
Yeah.
the public often, you can't blame the public because often they perceive the police data as manipulated or selectively reported. So basically, they don't trust the police or law enforcement agencies.
Yeah,
Now,
but Falabi, we have to remember the police are saying that the numbers are over are exaggerated.
yes, and they say that a lot of women that come back are not reported.
Yeah.
But
So what
basically,
I'm saying, but this is not about the public not trusting the police data because the police data itself is saying that the numbers are high. Is the police saying that the numbers are wrong? So we just want to make sure we have the right perspective on this. Go ahead.
yeah, so
Yeah.
basically, this it's a fallout of, like you said, GBV, gender-based violence, a lot of reasons that make people get missing are not they go
Yeah,
unreported.
okay, well, sorry, I started to jump in front of you. The point I was making though is that it's not that it's because of gender violence. What I'm saying is that females are at risk in South Africa. That's what I meant to say. And they can say that, oh, the numbers aren't as high as you think they are, but they're covering up because there's a general problem in South Africa in which females are not safe. And the police are trying to take the blame off themselves by saying, oh, they're safer than you think they are. A lot of them are hanging out with their boyfriends and they come home and they don't tell anybody. But my argument is whether those numbers are accurate or not, we know there's a problem. All you have to do is read the newspaper and see how many females are missing, how many are found dead, how many children are found missing. And even if the police want to argue that the missing or people come home, what about the data for females who are raped and beaten up?
That's what
Those
I'm
data
saying.
are,
That's
are
why I'm saying
accurate.
I feel the
Yeah.
figures are manipulated to cover up.
By who? No, but by who? If the police are saying the figures are too high, so if the figures are too high, who's manipulating it to make the figures too high?
I think the figures are somewhat accurate because it's a reflection of crime
Yeah.
against
So,
females in
but
South
you said
Africa.
manipulated. So what I'm saying is that it's not that the figures are manipulated or high, but if the clearly whatever number of females, let's say they say 8,000 people are missing, clearly some of them go back home and it's not found. But my argument is that that number must be negligible, and if you look at the general picture of the safety of females in the country, there's a problem. And the police can't run away from it. They're trying to run away from it by saying that the numbers aren't accurate. Oh, no, no, don't look at the numbers. They're too high. But that goes to a bigger story in that they're trying to not take blame or they're trying to deny that females are in danger. What is your thoughts, Alex? Yeah.
Um, I feel like even if 60 or 70% of missing women return, it is still a
Yeah.
sign of instability or risk in communities.
Yeah. Yeah.
People don't just vanish for fun. Like there's usually a trigger, and those triggers often reveal bigger societal problems. You know, some women choose to leave because of abusive homes or controlling relationships. On paper, that might look voluntarily, but in
Yeah,
reality, it's a survival move. I feel like police need to be more careful not to dismiss these as less important, but they actually already are doing that. And if police and stats SA keep contradicting each other, the public might lose faith in both of them.
yeah,
Criminals benefit when communities think no one really knows what's going on.
yeah,
And if the police say the numbers are inflated, it can be read as it's not that bad, you
yeah.
know, which can make victims feel their experiences don't count. A better message would be we're working to understand the numbers, but every case matters, you know? So
That would be a better
that's
thing.
my take
And
on
then by
that.
coming out by saying that the numbers are overinflated and not as bad, it gives people a false sense of security. Oh, it's okay. I can go out
Yeah.
safely. I'm safe. It's not that people are getting kidnapped. So it's very responsible for the police to do this. And like you said, they can take a balanced measure and say we want to go deeper into the numbers and figure out the problem. But I still think that no matter what the police say, we know there's a problem with females and children in South Africa. They never figured out what was going on with the Tretrick case. Then the other lady, the colored girl that disappeared, that her mother sold her.
Yeah.
All of these cases. So in general, there's a big problem, but it seems like the police are trying to deflect. This is the same police, especially in KZN, which allows criminals to run rampant. And what was the name of the general who came out? Not the general, the police chief who came out and put his life on the line. What's his name? Yeah, he's already talked about corrupt. You already have corruption up to the point of the minister. Police minister is corrupt, helping murderers and stuff. And now you're busy trying to downplay uh, a situation of females leaving home and you're saying it's not being reported. But like you said, if they're leaving home and they're not letting people know, because what normal situation are you a female and you're reported missing and your family doesn't get in touch with you, even if you return later, there's something wrong if you don't tell your parents that you've been gone for 3 or 4 days. So it goes to show you that there's still a general problem. It goes back to what we say on our show over and over again. The social economic situations in South Africa are dire. A lot of people say, "Oh, you're talking bad about South Africa. Why don't you talk about Nigeria, other parts of the world?" That's like somebody coming to my house and telling me my daughter's in trouble. Oh, why my daughter's in trouble? Why don't you say the person next door daughter is in trouble? Doesn't matter if they are. We're saying that you have a
Yeah.
problem in your home, and the reason we're saying because this is a Pan Africanist channel, we're saying it because South Africa is one of the giants of Africa, and if it's unstable, it's going to affect the whole Pan Africanist movement. So what we're doing is identifying a problem and saying the police are irresponsible, the politicians are responsible, and it's clear that in South Africa, and not just South Africa, many countries around the world, but we're focusing on South Africa today, female and children are, especially if they're black or colored, are not safe. What's your thought, Afolabi?
Yeah, they
Or
are.
they're in unstable situations because they say, oh, the woman who left, she came home again, she's safe. Something is unstable for that to happen. What are your thoughts, Afolabi?
Yeah, I quite agree with you. They are not safe, and I think that is where the public perception that police often either underreport or misclassify serious crimes. Some of these, like for instance, when minors were killed in Marikana, some police statements were contradicted by the media reports. And after independent investigation, they were found to be untrue. So most of the time, the public they don't feel safe in the hands of the police because most of the things that really happen, in actual fact, are not reported and they don't feel protected, basically.
Yeah, and not only that, and I'm not going to blame the police totally, but there's no shame for the police to say, okay, 8,000 people get missing, and let's say it's even that it has been solved. We're not going to shame the police because we know that the police department gets its funding from the government. And we know that the South African government, there's a lot of corruption. So maybe the police aren't getting paid properly. So they shouldn't feel that they need to downplay the crime. They even need to be saying this crime situation is serious, and we need new ministers. We don't need to have that guy. What's his name? The one that's the police minister who is involved with
Senzo.
criminal. Yes, yeah. We don't need Machuno, whatever his name is. We don't need guys like that. We don't need politicians who aren't funding the police. Also, we don't need a country in which you have more resources than most European countries, but there's not safety schemes and there's not money, there's not economic stability, there's not safety, there's not intervention to make sure that this gender-based violence goes away. So this is a problem for the whole country. So the police doesn't. We don't need to start blaming the police and then making them feel like they have to justify themselves because it's a total. The whole country is complicit in the problems. The citizenry, people don't look out for their neighbors. Guys don't look out for females. Females aren't coming together to fight back and say we're going to go on strike. So it's everybody's fault. It's a collective fault. But we don't need to have police coming out and saying, "Oh, a lot of people return home too." What are they going to say next? A lot of the people that got killed, it wasn't really a murder; it was suicide or something stupid like that. What are your thoughts, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Disputes over missing person stats are missing the real point. Even
Yeah,
if many return home, like I said, the fact that so many women disappear in the first place is a red flag. Some leave to escape abuse, some are in danger, and some never come back.
yeah,
Police and stats SA need to work together on accurate, updated data so resources go where they're needed most. While they debate numbers, the real focus should be protecting women and addressing the reasons why they go missing in the first place.
yeah. What is
That's
just
what
a
they should be doing.
general lack of stability? I wonder how, out of numbers, how many white females go missing. So to live white, whether you're in the U.S. or in South Africa, Nigeria doesn't have white people, so we don't have that problem of whites. But whether you're in South Africa or America, you don't hear of white females uh, going missing at that high type of number. And you're right, some of them going. So even if they do, a white girl would say, "Hey, mom, I'm here." So there's a lot of dysfunction in the black community that you may even leave the house and not tell your family where you're going because you're running away from them. And it's not a racial thing. It doesn't mean that black people are worse than whites. It means that we're under worse economic conditions because uh, the world economic structure is white supremacist. So it means that black people have to hustle. In white families, one person goes to work, the dad goes to work and makes money for the whole family. The mom stays at home or works part time. Black families, either neither person's working or it's a one family house, or both people have to go to work and leave their children at home, so they join gangs and things like that. So we need to tell the truth about what's going on in our communities. It's clear. You know how many people I see on Facebook every day showing, looking for their friends that they haven't seen their friends for 3 or 4 months. Sometimes they find them
Yeah.
dead. Once in a while, maybe once a year, I see, oh, she was found safe. So this is a big problem in the black world, and it's an economic problem, which our show is not going to talk about having to address, but we just have to admit this is a big problem. And no matter what KwaZulu-Natal police, funny that it's the KZN police saying all this. This is a state in which criminal organizations run rampant more than in any other part of the country, and they've just had scandals with and they've just had a police chief who spoke out against this stuff, and they're here to try to downplay or argue about statistics. Even if they're right, it doesn't matter. More energy needs to be spent on the kids who are missing, the females who are missing, and it's mostly females who are missing. And a lot of this is females who go out on
Yeah.
dates or stuff and they disappear. That's where the energy needs to go. What are your last thoughts, Afolabi? Afolabi, are you on mute? You're on mute.
So there's been cases of young girls in South Africa reportedly, abducted for trafficking.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
some of these politicians are culpable. Some of them are involved in gangster rings, in abducting girls for child
yeah,
trafficking. And they just use the police as pawns,
yeah,
to gratify their corrupt lifestyles. So basically, the system is corrupt from the ground up. So
yeah,
basically, the police is seen as being culpable in most of these cases. And most of the missing people are not even reported. But we see the pictures of some of them on Facebook and social media, yet they are not accounted for. So
yeah,
the public are not, they don't trust the police anymore. They feel that corrupt politicians are using them as pawns just to
yeah.
gratify their own corrupt lifestyles, basically.
But even more than that, what about the citizens themselves, like the woman who sold her own child?
Exactly.
I don't know what
Exactly.
happened with Twitch, but a lot of people think her mom was trying to ride it for money. I don't know. I can't accuse anybody. But my problem is that there's a problem going on, which is the government, the police, and also the society itself. Because the
Yeah.
problem, you know what happens? What happens if you try to kidnap somebody in Nigeria? What happens in a neighborhood?
If you
They
try to,
burn you to death.
yes, they'll
They put
stone
a
you. They
tie around your neck.
probably
They do it in South Africa too. Once in a
they'll
while,
lynch
they'll catch
you.
you.
They'll lynch
So
you.
in other words, the community needs to be vigilant. If you're everybody has sisters. If your sister comes home with a black eye and you don't find out who did it, then you're part of the problem too. Do you get my point? Because this thing, there's so many
Yeah.
females being beat up every weekend in South Africa. They go home with a black eye, but I don't see anybody going out to the streets to find out who did it and kill them or beat them. You get my point? I'm not saying that you should go kill people. I'm not saying vigilantes, but what I'm saying is that the society also has to rise up and take care of its own. If you have children and if you live in a society and you have to go to work and you have to leave your children at home, ask your neighbor, can I leave my daughter here? And you should feel safe to have your neighbor. You don't want to come back home and then you find out your neighbor's husband slept with your daughter.
Yeah,
So
very
everybody has to be held
scenario.
accountable because if females are getting raped and stuff, that means males are
Yeah.
doing it.
Sure.
That means black males, poor males are doing it. That's not, you can't blame the police for that. You can't blame the government for that. You see what I'm saying? Last thoughts, Alex, before we head out. Yeah.
Um, well, both Stats SA and the police have valid points, but they're looking at different parts of the picture. Stats
Yeah.
SA counts every reported case, while police know that, well, some missing people do return. The real issue, like I said, is that these figures still highlight how many women feel unsafe, unhappy, or vulnerable enough to leave home in the first place. Whether
Yeah.
someone returns or not, the root causes from domestic abuse to trafficking need urgent attention. So let's not get stuck debating numbers while
Yeah,
lives are at risk right at this very moment.
definitely. Thank you. So what do you can take us out of Falabi and last thoughts if you have any. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically it's the same thing that's happening in Nigeria too. In the law enforcement agents are used as tools in the hands of corrupt politicians, and it has
Yeah.
made the whole system corrupt, and it's stinking really because at the end of the day, uh females are vulnerable, nobody's protecting them, and the law enforcement are not being held accountable.
And people are being kidnapped for ransom in
Yeah, they're being
Nigeria.
kidnapped for ransom. So, because when the election comes, at the end of the day, they're using this law enforcement to rig elections, and it happens everywhere across
Yeah.
Africa. Basically,
Yeah.
that's where I want to stop today.
In North Africa, you have human slaves. So this is a bullshit here, man. And the police know about it. Yeah. All right, take us out. Thank you. Good show.
Okay, it's been another brilliant South African show. We've been talking about inflated figures of missing people, particularly vulnerable females in South Africa. I'm from Mustafa and Alex and myself. We'll be back again sometime this week or even next
Next
week.
week.
Yeah,
Have a good one. Thanks, guys. Okay.
yeah.